Yahweh, Allah, Yahweh, Ahad, Shema, Yasha Yahweh, Allah, Yahweh, Ahad, Shema, Yasha Yahweh, Allah, Yahweh, Ahad. All right, Shalom, Akim. All right. I would like to start off by giving all honor and glory to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shah Bahasham, Kahakudash. I also want to give double honors to our elder apostles and the elder bishops of Great Millstone who rule well, and peace and blessings to the house of David the elect. All right. And today I want to go into a live stream, all right, basically entitled The Importance of Heritage, man. All right, because the Spirit has been on me to basically contemplate on a particular word, meditate on a particular word, all right, that spun so many other words dealing with our nation, all right, and to shed light on some major components that was lost, all right, ultimately when we came here on cargo slave ships in America, man, and there's something called heritage. And the reason why I said there's a particular word that spun so many other words, because just like inheritance, all right, inherit, all right, it all has a key word, and that's heir. Heir, H-E-I-R, that's somebody that receives something from their ancestors, man. All right? So a heritage, all right, a heritage is basically a custom, a way of living, a culture that's passed down from your ancestors. That's preserved generation through generation through generation, man. Okay? And that's what I want to go into today, because pursuant to Jeremiah 17:4, it says what? That thou even thyself shall discontinue from thy heritage. So I was watching this YouTube channel called Jubilee, all right, and they have a show called Middle Grounds on that channel. And it's basically when they have people from different walks of life, all right, discuss their different viewpoints on a particular matter. And it's pretty interesting, you know? They have people from different walks of life, all right, discuss different viewpoints on a particular matter. And one of them was, you know, should immigration be illegal, all right? And, you know, they were talking to Esau and Ishmaelite women and, you know, people from other countries who actually were immigrants. But one thing I noticed on another one, they was talking about should like Muslim women wear hijabs, or should there be, you know, how do you feel about that? And basically some of those women was like, this is part of our heritage. This is our heritage. And, you know, people from other countries, especially from the East, all right, whether they're Hindu or Islam, all right, Muslims, all right, when you see the way they dress, all right, and the food they eat, that's something that's been passed down to them for thousands of years. Ain't that something? Hey, Shalom, Sister Yahweh Shema Shah Brakatah, all right? That's something that's been passed down for thousands of years. That's something that's been preserved from generation to generation, from kingdom to kingdom, whether they were in power or not in power. They had customs and traditions and a way of life that had been preserved, all right, through generation, man. And that's the power of heritage. And that's something that we lack, and that's something that, as a nation, the world has lost respect. The world doesn't have respect for us because of that. And that's why it says in Psalms 83rd chapter, let us cut them off for being a nation. All right, who's the us? It's the other nations, man. They wanted to cut that line, disconnect that line, all right, that connected us from King David to the so-called Black, Hispanics, and Native Americans in America, man. They had to cut that line, man. That's why Jake, like it says in Isaiah 47:6, I have polluted my inheritance, man. How did he pollute his inheritance? Because then it says that I have given them into thine hand, talking about Esau, Edom. How did he pollute his inheritance, man? Or he polluted, his inheritance, because the word inheritance from an archaic perspective really goes into the word property. It really goes into the word property, man. Like it says in Sirach, I think 36, where there's no hedge, the possession is spoiled. And the word heritage, the word inheritance in the archaic sense really means possession. So when he said, I polluted my inheritance, he's really saying I polluted my possession, because Israel was his possession. All right. Like it says, where there's no hedge, the possession is spoiled. So what was our hedge? It was our heritage. And what was within our heritage? The law, statutes, and commandments. So when you go to different countries, all right, or when you leave or whatever, you have descendants, they're supposed to keep the law, statutes, and commandments, because that preserves them from the paganistic customs of the heathen. But when he discontinued us from our heritage, and we forgot who we were, then we just blindly followed the ways of the heathen that had us in captivity. So if they ate pork, we ate pork. They worship Roman Catholicism, we worship Roman Catholicism, man. Now they're introducing LGBTQ, we're accepting LGBTQ because we have no heritage, all right, that carry our standard that shielded us from the heathen nations that were round about us, man. That's what he means when he says, I have polluted my inheritance, man. All right? Because we've been penetrated by the customs of the fucking heathen, man. And you know, Shalom, Memphis brothers. Hey, y'all about to Bashura Kakodash Brakathum. Hey, but he said, I polluted my inheritance, man. Because in the archaic sense, inheritance means possession. Like when you go on a dictionary, you look up certain words, then beneath the certain definitions, it'll say archaic. So some of those definitions have a different meaning from an archaic position, all right? So in the archaic sense, like I said, inheritance really means possession. Like it says in Sirach, where there's no hedge, the possession is spoiled. And one of your hedge that shields, because a hedge is like a wall that shields you from outside forces, man. Or a wall that protects a cottage or a property, all right, from being penetrated from outside forces. So what was our hedge? Ultimately, it was Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua himself, but it was our heritage, which contained our laws, statutes, and commandments, which we have preserved or reserved our identity from generation to generation. But when we came to America, all right, pursuant to Deuteronomy 28, it said that what? Our children will be sold into captivity. All right, you're going to see your children get sold into captivity, man. So with that, when the children got sold to captivity into a different plantation, that destroyed our heritage because we had nothing to pass down to our offspring. And even if you did pass it down to the offspring, all right, they grew up and had sons and daughters, and they got sold to a plantation. Then they got sold to a plantation and most likely learned Christianity and being submissive. So by the time they had offspring, and they got sold to a different plantation, guess what they learned? You guessed it. And 350 years later, our people still pushing that goddamn plantation, man. Like Chris Rock said, if you a damn Christian and you so-called black, man, you got a short attention span, man. You got damn it amnesia, man. But heritage is powerful, man. Heritage is one thing that gives you pride about your fucking people. And one thing that distinguishes us from Ham is they look at us like they have no heritage. They have no customs that they continue before they came to America. Even Israelites in West Africa, they think they goddamn Hamites. They look at the Israelites in America like the American Negro has no fucking customs. He has no culture. Even the Northern Kingdom, which are Israelites, they've adopted the culture of the goddamn conquistadors, or they reserved some of the customs of the damn Mayans and the Aztecs when they were called Mayans and Aztecs. They even look at the Southern Kingdom like these niggas have no culture. All right? I would like to think that even Levites, which are so-called Haitians, and Benjamin, which are so-called West Indians, I think they look at the Southern Kingdom, well, the tribe of Judah, like that American Negro, he ain't got shit. But as a collective, we discontinue from our heritage. And if you even just look up the word heritage, it basically means something that's passed down from generation to generation. But a heritage is more than property being passed down. It's a way of life that's being passed down. Like you see maybe a woman from India, Elam, She knows certain recipes, all right, certain East Indian recipes that was passed down from her mother, and she had that passed down from her mother, and she had that passed down from her mother. All right. The way, how you handle your household, that's a part of their heritage. Certain songs they sang, all right, certain customs they had, even though they're the heathen, is just an example of a heritage being passed down. And that makes you stick your chest out. That gives you a sense of pride, man. Hence the word ethnocentricity, where basically you have pride about where the hell you came from, which has the key element ethnic, ethnic, which basically means a race of people. You have pride about your race, your nation, man. All right? We were taught American pride, which will be Edomite pride, man. You were in class singing our Pledge of Allegiance, man, to the damn flag. All right? Because like me and the brother Yash was talking last night, you know, Esau reconstructed our past. He rewrote our history, and it all started from slavery. So basically, that was Frankenstein that he civilized. He civilized you from a Frankenstein state. So your self-esteem only comes from your association with America. So you all overly excited about some damn degree or about some six-figure job, all right? You assess your worth by heathen standards, man. Esau Edom is a damn heathen. And not only is he a damn heathen, he's the basis of all the other heathens, man. Okay? So what the Most High is doing, all right, pursuant to Ezekiel the 37th chapter, all right, pursuant to Sirach the 36th chapter, gather all the tribes together. He's bridging that gap between our forefathers and us. All right, there was a gap between our forefathers, i.e. King David, King Solomon, Joshua, all right, Moses. He's bridging that gap between who we read about in the Old Testament or who you've watched movies about going to church. All right, he's bridging that gap between who you read about and who you are. He's bridging that together, all right, to where, like it says in speaking of amnesia, talking about Chris Rock saying how people had amnesia, all right, Baruch the 2nd chapter. You know, I know that they would not hear me for it as a stiff-necked people, but in the land of their captivity should they remember themselves, all right, and think upon his name. So part of us coming back to our heritage and we remembering who we are, and that gap is being bridged, all right, between who you read about in the book of Kings, the book of Chronicles, all right, the book of Joshua, Judges, and who you look at today, the so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans. He's bridging that gap, man. All right, pursuant to Revelations, the 11th chapter, where we woke up out of our dead state, and like the brother Yash was getting into last night, you know, we was that conquering lion. There's a reason why the Israelite was associated with being a lion. King Solomon had in his palace 12 lions carved, man, because the nation of Israel was likened to the spirit of a lion. And guess what? We saw that mentality exemplified in the book of Ezra around the 5th chapter, where I think it's the 5th chapter, where Ezra was asking the Most High, you know, the world was created for our sakes. Why don't we have an inheritance with the world? But he said the world was created for our sakes. Now, one thing about the lion, a lion basically thinks that everything around it belongs to him. So that's why he has the mentality, I could conquer everything because it belonged to me in the first place. And that was the nature of our forefather, King David. All right. That was the nature of our forefather, Joshua. All right. We had a mentality, look, they're heathens. Hey, this is our earth, man. All right. Now, Esau, he started with Amalek. He adopted that mentality. All right. Descending down to European colonization, which ultimately was the result of the resurrection of the beast coming back. Okay. A resurrection of the beast coming back. So he had that mentality, the so-called European colonization, when I'm gonna basically imprison the whole world or strip the world of its resources and put everybody under servitude, man. We did that first. So we were that lion, man. Okay? But the Most High is bridging that gap between who you read about and who you see today, man. So it's very important to understand who you are and where you came from, so you won't assess your worth by goddamn Esau's standards of worth, man. All right? What you do for a living? Well, what I do for a living was in the confines of my oppressor's captivity, man. Can't be that important, you know? Esau have you think that the most important so-called black person is a damn athlete. All right? But you can imagine a guy like LeBron James running through a troop. You know? You can, just knocking those down in the military, man. You can imagine, a lot of those elite soccer players in the Northern Kingdom just being, mighty men in the military, man. All right? But the Most High is bringing it back, starting with the house of David. I think there's Amos 9 and 11. That he was going to raise up the tabernacles of David, which tabernacles basically means house. So he's going to resurrect the house of David, which is what Yahushua was talking about, the temple being built up the third time. It's going to be built up in the spirit where those men were going to wake up. Pursuant to, I believe it's Jeremiah 50 and 14 or 51 and 14, I will raise up men like caterpillars. Now, if you look up that word caterpillar, all right, it really goes back into a worm that eats up all the leaves off a tree till that tree is bare. And what we're doing, the Most High raised up an army that's like to that caterpillar, which is destroying the doctrine of Esau Edom. It's destroying spiritually the stronghold of Esau Edom. All right? That's why I said she's made bare in the book of Jeremiah, man. Okay? He's exposing that whore, but she's being consumed by the spirit of his mouth, man. The spirit of Yahweh Shemawashai's mouth, all right, through the prophets, man. All right? But it's very important that we know our heritage and we connect ourselves and associate ourselves with our forefathers, man. Because like the brother said last night, there's a reason why Esau Edom only talks about Alexander. There's a reason, there's a reason why Esau Edom only talks about some Roman emperors. But Rome, like they say, Rome wasn't built overnight. Those were descendants finishing up the accomplishments of their forefathers. It was building up on the accomplishments of the forefathers, whereas King David, he became a world power within his generation. He didn't have to die and pass it down to his son because he became a world power in his generation. And that's the nature of Israel when we are connected back to our power, man. And imagine you teaching your kids that, like, no, that's where you came from, man. All right? Or imagine that being taught to you when you were little. All right? Because at least 2,000 years ago when we were in Jerusalem, they made a lot of references. Israelites made a lot of references in the scriptures to their forefathers. They said, our fathers. All right? So they didn't call it ancestors, but our fathers, man. Our fathers did this in old times. Our father did that in old time. But because of slavery and the curses, that connection to our fathers has been cut off. How in the hell we've been here this long, all right? We've been here this long, and you don't know what country in Africa you came from. You don't know what the fuck you were doing in Africa, man, all right? And don't you think if we really were Africans, that that information would have been given to us, all right? Esau don't want you to know that you're the alpha male of the earth, talking about the whole nation of Israel. Esau don't want you to know that there's a chain of command on the earth, and you're at the top of that chain of command. Pursuant to Psalms 83. Let us cut them off from being a nation. Cut them off. Cut their connection between the history and the chronicles of their forefathers and who they are now. Cut that fucking connection, man. Let them just be liberated into being so-called African Americans, man. Okay? But yeah, we have a heritage. And the heritage is very important because that's something that's passed down from generation to generation to generation, that survives the test of times and that reserves your identity. That's why Elam and Ishmael, they'll come over here. Some are assimilated, but a lot of them in general, they'll come over here and they'll still wear that Middle Eastern attire. They're preserving their heritage. They'll still go home and reserve their customs behind closed doors and pray and eat in a way that they did over there in the Middle East. Elam still walking around the neighborhood like they do over there in India, man. That's their heritage, man. The women, to my knowledge, in Elam, when a woman gets married, they pass down gold to pass down wealth. That's part of their heritage, man. All right. But that's something that reserves their identity to where you can look at a picture of them or a painting of them from 1,000 years ago and they still have the same garments and attires that they're wearing now. That's the result of a heritage and a heritage being preserved, man. All right, but we not know who we were and where we came from, what continent allegedly in Africa or what country allegedly in Africa we came from. That's a result of we discontinued from our heritage. All we know is Jordans, cookouts, fights, sports, sex, or just being a goddamn heathen with no damn spiritual standard, no moral compass, man. That's the result of being cut off from your heritage. But with that, I hope you brothers and sisters were edified. Once again, I want to give all honor and glory to Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shah, Ba'ashem Hakudash, that by honor, so our apostles, great millstone, rule well. Peace and blessings to the house of David the elect. Abba, coming out, Shalom.